So now we are live on YouTube, Spreaker.com, which this will be posted to the Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Google Podcast channels. As I said, everybody, I'm Ryan Thomas. Thanks so much for tuning in. In this video, I am diving in for you. I'm doing this for you. This is me giving back to the fantasy baseball community because I am a six-time. I got as many fantasy baseball rings as Michael Jordan, as Tom Brady, as they do with Super Bowl rings and NBA title rings. So one would say I'm the Michael Jordan or the Tom Brady of fantasy baseball. Granted, my league has been a keeper league the last couple of years, but even in a keeper league, you have to be smart. You have to have something between the ears. The folks at home, I'm literally pointing to my head. The folks that are watching on YouTube, pointing to my head saying, you got to have something in between the ears. You got to know what players are coming that are going to be superstars, what players that are out there that are going to be great. So there's a couple names in this podcast I'm going to dive into that most people might not know. And when I go to my Dynasty Rankings that I've put together, I'm going to pull this up on my phone here. When I go to my Dynasty Rankings for 2020, I honestly think that there is so much talent out there in baseball right now. It is unbelievable right now. The amount of talent that football and baseball, I could say, football and baseball, but baseball in particular has boatloads of talent. Right now, if you were to put together a keeper and dynasty, list, number one, first and foremost, is probably Mike Trout, but a guy that I think is only going to get better is Ronald Acuna Jr., who I have on my fantasy team, thank God. Another guy that you could really hang your head on as a budding, rising superstar, okay? A rising superstar. This is big, rising superstar in the major leagues is Fernando Tatis Jr. of the San Diego Padres. I really liked what I saw from Tatis in the limited amount of time that we saw him. He did battle some injuries last year, but in an extremely shortened season, 60 games. I'd like to think that most of these guys will be able to stay healthy, but they haven't really been training the way that they normally do. So we'll find out. As well, another guy that I really like in this dynasty ranking is Yordan Alvarez of the Houston Astros. Hopefully, Yordan Alvarez hits as many bombs as he did last year, because last year we came to find out the Houston Astros were doing some sign stealing. So, were those numbers overinflated due to the sign stealing? We'll find out, but I do like Yordan Alvarez regardless. Another player for your Dynasty League. This is a New York Yankee that I actually think is the best Yankee on the Yankees currently, and it is not Aaron Judge. Folks, for the folks at home that are diehard Yankees fans, you don't know it, but I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. But I am willing to give credit when credit is due, and credit is due for Gleyber Torrez. This is the best Yankee currently on the Yankees, in my opinion. He can do it all. He plays short. He plays second. He can hit for power. He can hit for average. He can steal bases. He's a five-tool player. That's a common phrase that is used in baseball. Five-tool player, for those of you that don't know what that means, it's a guy that can literally hit for power, speed, contact, do it all. A do-it-all player. He can field with the best of them. Gleyber Torrez is a phenomenal player. What an acquisition that was for the Yankees in the Aroldis Chapman trade, who they eventually got back. Pretty funny stuff. So another player that I really like in terms of fantasy rankings for a dynasty league, Jack Flaherty, starting pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's only going to get better. Another starting pitcher that you guys should all know about, Walker Buehler of the LA Dodgers. Those are some names that I really like. Austin Meadows as well, player for the Tampa Bay Rays, hit 35 bombs last year for the Tampa Bay Rays, was acquired in the Chris Archer trade the previous season. The Tampa Bay Rays traded Chris Archer to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Meadows was in the Pirates system. He gets brought into Tampa Bay. He plays right away in the Tampa Bay Rays major league roster, and plays at a very, very, very high level. This player actually got to watch up close and personal in Buffalo when he was playing for the Buffalo Bisons. And Vlad Guerrero Jr., that would be the obvious player that I'm talking about. But Vlad Guerrero Jr. is as obvious a Dynasty ranking player as any. I mean, he might be top 3 for Dynasty due to the fact that this guy is a prodigy of the Hall of Famer Vlad Guerrero Sr., but a player that is within the Toronto Blue Jays organization that I really enjoy watching is Bo Bichette, shortstop for the Toronto Blue Jays. Very much looking forward to seeing what Bichette can do. His father was in the majors for a long time, and Bichette is obviously somebody that I really like. Moving forward, Lucas Giolito of the Chicago White Sox, great starting pitcher last year, was dynamite last year. Kyle Tucker, a prospect within the Houston Astros organization. It's only a matter of time before he gets his due, as well as Mike Soroka. Now, I'm kind of spitballing here and throwing all these players out there, but these are players that I feel you guys should really look into for your fantasy baseball roster. And, obviously I'm diving into these and kind of spitballing these. Hopefully you guys write these guys down. I will add these players to the bio of this video once it is officially posted. But I greatly enjoy into fantasy baseball. Today is my fantasy baseball draft. I'll say it again. Today is my fantasy baseball draft. This is the 10th season of my fantasy league for fantasy baseball, and I truly feel that this is going to be one of the better seasons. Although it is a shortened season, these rosters are stacked in my league. There are so many keepers. It's a deep keeper league where you have 10 keepers per team. So 80 players, 8 teams, 10 keepers, 10 times 8, 80 players are already off the board, but the first 2 rounds of this draft are completely open, which means we can take whoever we want within the first 2 rounds. And, a lot of these cream of the crop players, the Mike Trouts, the Mookie Betts of the world, all these guys are going to be available. So that's great for this league. Nick Sens'el, a second baseman outfielder for the Cincinnati Reds. I like Nick Sens'el a lot. There is quite a few pitchers that haven't quite reached that major league level quite yet that are this close to getting there. They're this close to getting there. Guys like Casey Mize of the Detroit Tigers, guys like Brennan McKay, who pitched a little bit for the Rays, actually can play, can hit as well. He's a two-way player, which is pretty rare these days. Those are 2 pitchers that I really like. Forrest Whitley of the Houston Astros as well. These are for dynasty purposes. If you're in a keeper league for dynasty purposes, Red Sox, shout out right there. For keeper purposes, then you definitely got to go with some young guys on your team. But if you're just looking for good players for 2020 only, as I said, for 2020 only, obviously Ronald Acuna, Cody Bellinger, Juan Soto, Christian Yelich, Trey Turner. You're looking to dominate a category in your matchup, week in, week out. Trey Turner, one of the fastest players in baseball, home to first, fastest home to first time in the game. If he's hitting a grounder, there's a good chance that he can get on base. I mean, that's how quick this guy is, and he's a phenomenal player. Last year, I had him on my roster. He got hurt, but came back in remarkably quick fashion. And I really like Trey Turner a lot. For the Nationals World Series champion, did it all without Bryce Harper. Pretty awesome stuff. Alberto Mondesi is another player that I really like. Joey Gallo is another player that I really like for your fantasy baseball purposes. So there you have it. Let me know how you guys put your league together with your scoring, and send me your teams. I love helping people out with fantasy baseball stuff. Take care, everybody.